The Shenyang J-8 is a high-speed, high-altitude Chinese-built single-seat interceptor fighter aircraft. Design and development. The effort to develop an all-weather interceptor began in full in 1964, and this produced the first Chinese-designed and built jet fighter to combat new, high-altitude threats such as the B-58 Hustler bomber, F-105 Thunder Chief fighter bomber and Lockheed U-2 spy plane. In 1964, the People's Liberation Army Air Force requested an aircraft from Shenyang Aircraft Corporation and the 601 Institute to develop a fighter interceptor to counter bombers and spy planes, as the then newly introduced Chengdu J-7 was incapable of doing so. The prototype took its maiden flight in 1969. Despite the early mid to late 1960s origins of the J-8, due to the political turmoil of the Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution, the J-8 was not produced until 1979 and entered service in 1980. Its basic configuration resembles an enlargement of the delta-winged J-7, utilizes two Liang Wopen 7A turbojet engines, and features a maximum speed of Mach 2.2. The twin-engined J-8 competed with rival Chengdu Aircraft Industry Group's single, turbofan-powered engine, Canard Delta J-9 project, and ultimately emerged as the victor largely due to the existing availability of the former's MiG-21-based powerplant and proven layout, while the J-9 project was cancelled in 1980 due to difficulty in creating a suitably powerful engine. In order to house a large radar set, the design called for a solid nose and variable geometry side air intakes. However, the lack of familiarity with this type of intake meant the J-8 had to settle for a MiG-21 style nose intake. The solid-nosed J-8 was finally realized in the J-8II, which was based on the layout of the J-8I. The radar chosen for the J-8 was the Type 204 monopulse fire control radar, a primitive ranging radar for daylight within visual range operations. The performance of the radar fell well short of the PLAAF's requirements, as research into a more capable fire control radar and power source proved difficult and time-consuming. The aircraft was originally armed with cannons and 7 hardpoints for missiles, bombs, rockets or fuel tanks. The original weapons layout of the J-8 was two 30mm Type 30-1 cannons after initial problems with the 30mm Type 30II 4-barrel Gatling gun. The J-8 was also planned to be armed with the experimental Place 4 medium-ranged missile, but technical issues and political upheavals prevented any in-depth development, and the project was cancelled in 1985, citing unsatisfactory performance. Therefore, the Place 2 IR homing short-range air-to-air missile was used instead. Unguided bombs and rockets can also be carried on the J-8. And nowadays, with the development of lightweight military nuclear weaponry, the J-8II will now be able to carry missiles with nuclear warheads. Despite entering service relatively recently, it was comparable to many older Soviet fighter designs, with limited maneuverability. The original combat avionics package was soon replaced with an all-weather capability in aircraft designated J-8I. The J-8I received a new gun sight, onboard computer, new cockpit design, and redesigned ejection escape system and oxygen supply system. The gun armament was also changed from two 30mm cannons to a single 23mm twin-barreled cannon, and the Place 5 short-ranged arm was also equipped. The later J-8E featured improved electronic warfare systems. The unsatisfactory performance performance of the J-8I led to a very short production run of 20 to 50 aircraft, and the J-8I has slowly began being phased out as early as the 1990s. A tactical reconnaissance variant of the J-8, known as the JZ-8, was developed in the mid-1980s to take advantage of the J-8's few favorable qualities, most notably its capability of reaching high speeds and altitudes to replace the Shenyang J-6 in the tactical reconnaissance role, using an under-fuselage reconnaissance pod with a Ka-112A long focal-length optical camera. The JZ-8 usually operates at heights ranging from to 9,500 meters to 15,000 meters during reconnaissance missions. By 1982, work began to replace the unimpressive J-8I type with a new design known as the J-8II. The new 1982 requirements from the PLAAF demanded being capable of beyond visual range combat with the use medium-ranged missiles and secondary ground attack capabilities. In terms of performance, the aircraft was expected to have better aerodynamic performance at medium to low altitudes and at transonic speeds. J-8II. The J-8II series appear quite different from the original J-8, with a new forward fuselage, intake ramps with splitter plates and nose structure more reminiscent of the F-4 Phantom to a Sukhoi Su-15 to house a new, more powerful radar. J-8IIs are powered by Wopen 13A engines. The design and development team was led by Gu Songfen, who is also a key member of J-8I design team. It was hoped to equip the production J-8B with an American and APG-66 radar, but this proved politically impossible after the Tiananmen Square protests of 1989, so the indigenous Type 208A monopulse radar fire control radar initially was used. Although the Type 208A was an improvement over the original J-8I radar, the Type 208A did not have true beyond visual range capabilities nor look-down, shoot-up ground attack capabilities, thereby falling short of the PLAAF's initial requirements and the redesign of the airframe. The J-8B was the early production batch of the new J-8II series. In addition to receiving a new radar, new engine and a completely redesigned noses, cockpit and intake, the J-8B also benefited from a new head-up display, integrated inertial navigation system, global positioning satellite system and TACAN technology. Later J-8Bs were equipped with the more robust KLJ-1 pulse Doppler radar, fire control radar and radar warning receiver, theoretically giving the later batch BVR capabilities. J-8B is the second Chinese aircraft to be equipped with a data link, and the data link is designated as Type 483, which enables ground-controlled interception centers to feed directions directly to the autopilots of J-8Bs to fly hands-off to the interception. At least 30 J-8Bs have been converted by the PLA Navy to J-8D standard, with an aerial refueling probe for use with Jian H-6DU tankers in addition to newly built J-8Ds. The most significant difference between the J-8B and J-8D is the use of the new Type 02 airframe that was heavier than the J-8B and featured uneven length wing fences. The heavier Type 02 airframe is able to carry a larger payload and can tolerate higher G-loadings. The new airframe also has a stiffer radome. A few minor differences between the later J-8B batches and the J-8D are the J-8D's slightly improved avionics. The use of the KLJ-1 pulse Doppler radar was used through the J-8D's entire production run. The J-8B and J J-8D both suffered from China's difficulty in developing AMRAAM. Although the Type 208A was theoretically capable of using semi-active radar homing missiles and the KLJ-1 was certainly capable, no such missile, semi-active or active, were available at the time. Both variants were only initially armed with SRAAMs such as the Place 2 and Place 5, and the more advanced infrared homing Place 8 SRAAM. An early attempt to remedy these technological shortcomings still present after the redesign of the J-8 to the J-8II was the J-8C. The project began shortly after failure to obtain American cooperation for the J-8B, so Shenyang turned to Israel and Russia instead. The J-8C was considered a radical upgrade of the original J-8II with a new radar based on the Israeli LTL M2035 multi-mode pulse Doppler radar, digital fire control system, a new glasses cockpit, in-flight refueling probe and equipped with a new WP-14 Kunlun engine. These upgrades are said to bring the fighter into the same league as modern Russian and Western fighters such as Mikoyan MiG-29 and Dasu Mirage. 2005. The project was cancelled in the late 1990s after two prototypes were built in favor of further development of the Shenyang J-11 fighter. The J-8IM, first flown in 1996, is a further improved version. One major improvement over the J-8II is the capable Russian-made ZHUK-82 coherent pulse Doppler radar, 100 of which have been delivered in the 1990s. Additionally, the J-8IM carried new multifunction displays, integrated INS, GPS navigation system, new fire control systems, new alternators and a new electronic countermeasures suite. The J-8IM possessed true BVR capabilities with the use of the R-27 semi-active infrared seeker medium-ranged missile. New WP-13B turbojet engines were adopted as well. The J-8IM has had no new orders from China at the export market, where it is offered as the F-8IM. It was heavily marketed to Iran but ultimately was not exported anywhere. However, the experience and technological achievements gained from the J-8C and F-8IM projects were later applied by Shenyang Aircraft Company to the later J-8HF variants. It was also during this time that the Shanghai Academy of Spaceflight Technology certified the Place 11 in 2001 after successfully test-firing 5 missiles from the J-8II. The Place 11 is a copy of the Italian Aspid semi-active radar homing medium-ranged missile originally acquired in 1989 before Italy refused to cooperate further with the Chinese government in the aftermath of the Tiananmen Square incident. This slowed down China's testing of the missile considerably, preventing the J-8BD from carrying the missile when they were introduced in the 1990s, as the original plan had intended. The J-8H configuration features the more powerful WP-13B turbojet engines, improved avionics and the improved Type 1471 pulse Doppler fire control radar with look-down, shoot-down capability and a range of new operating modes. With the radar upgrade comes the ability to fire the Place 11 and the Place 12 SD-10 MRAAM, which employs an active radar homing seeker. The J-8H also is equipped with IFR probe, INS, GPS, HOTAS, and an integrated ECM suite, with twin wing fences on each side of the wings that greatly increased handling ability. The J-8D's heavier airframe is used but with modified modified wing fences. Production of the J-8H and the J-8D it had superseded has now ceased in favor of upgrading earlier J-8D aircraft to J-8H standards. It is uncertain if the older J-8B will be upgraded to J-8H standards given the difference in airframe. The J-8F is the most modern and capable J-8 variant currently in service and has been in production since 2003. The J-8HF has inherited many of the improvements of the earlier J-8C and F-8IM, and in some cases has improved on them. The J-8F features a glass cockpit, a more powerful WP-13BII turbojet engine and enhanced Type 1492 radar for enhanced air-to-air capabilities with the Place 12 active radar homing, medium-range air-to-air missile, full air-to-ground and air-to-sea capabilities using the A-17 Krypton anti-radar missile, and a variety of Chinese-designed precision-guided laser and satellite-guided bombs, making it the first true multi-role combat aircraft variant of the J-8 series. The J-8F also possesses all the avionic and electronic upgrades the J-8H received. The earlier J-8B-Ds can be easily distinguished from later J-8HFs by their dark green radomes, compared to the latter's black radomes. Introduction of the more powerful WP-14 Kunlun turbojet engine for the J-8 series is planned to go underway in the coming years. The J-8F also serves in the People's Liberation Army Naval Air Force as well. A notable variant of the J-8F is the JZ-8F, which has quietly been introduced into the PLAAF in the tactical reconnaissance role. Very little information has been released on the JZ-8F other than the use of an internal camera compartment which replaces the twin 23mm cannon, rather than a camera pod as used by the older JZ-8. In 1988, one J-8II airframe was converted into the J-8ACT, an experimental fly-by-wire testbed for the J-10 program. The J-8ACT had a shorter fuselage and a pair of canards were affixed to the side of each intake, and replaced older FBW technological demonstrators based on the older Shenyang J-6 and J-8I airframes. To date, no plans for a twin-seat J-8 design have been announced. Soviet connection. The J-8 project was made possible largely due to the transfer of MiG-21 technology from the Soviet Union in 1961. However, this aircraft lacked the speed, range, altitude, and radar capability the PLAAF needed in an all-weather interceptor. The nascent Chinese jet aircraft industry was established mostly with Soviet assistance, and Chinese designers followed Soviet design methodology for the J-8. A Soviet experimental aircraft known as the Yi-152 Flipper with similar configuration may have influenced the J-8 layout, as did the Sukhoi Su-15 Flagon airframe. Operational history. There are currently over 300 J-8s of all types serving in the People's Liberation Army Air Force and People's Liberation Army Naval Air Force. The J-8 is expected to be superseded by modern Chengdu J-10 and J-11 variants in the coming years. April 2001 incident. On the 1st of April 2001, a Chinese J-8D fighter jet collided with a US EP-3 reconnaissance aircraft flying over Chinese waters about 70 miles south of China. The EP-3 crew was forced to make an emergency landing on China's Hainan Island. According to Chinese officials, the pilot of the J-8D, Wang Wei, ejected, but he was never found and is presumed dead. American reconnaissance crews had been intercepted many times before, in some instances the interceptors flying as close as 10 meters from the American surveillance aircraft. A crew of 24 Americans was eventually allowed to return home on the 11th of April. The American aircraft was not returned for another 3 months. Variants first flew on the 5th of July 1969. Initial day fighter variant resembles an enlarged MiG-21, equipped with two XWP-7A turbojet engines, state route 4 ranging radar, 2X Type 3 OI 30mm cannon, and 2X Place 2IR guided AAMs. Limited production. J-8I first flew on the 24th of April 1981. Improved all-weather version with SL-7A fire control radar, twin-barrel Type 23II 23mm cannon, and amped up to 4 AAMs. Limited production. J-8E midlife upgrade for J-8I. JZ-8 reconnaissance version of J-8, J-8I. J-8ACT first flew on the 24th of June 1990. Fly-by-wire testbed aircraft. J-8II series. J-8II first flown on the 12th of June 1984. The improved J-8I prototype with redesigned nose, front section and fuselage, replacing the nose air inlet with a solid nose and lateral air intakes, similar to those of the MiG-23. China received several MiG-23s in the late 1970s from Egypt, and the hinged ventral fin and lateral intakes indicate probable reverse engineering from the MiG-23. Equipped with Type 208 monopulse radar. J-8II Batch 02 first flew in November 1989. Improved J-8II with SL-8APD radar. Powered by two XWP-13AI turbojet engines, armed with twin-barrel 23mm Type 23II cannon and up to 4 Place 5 or Place 8 AAMs. No BVR capability. Peace Pearl J-8. During the Sino-US cooperation era, up to 50 J-8IIs were to be delivered to the US for upgrades and installation of an APG-66 radar and fire control system for $500 million, under the Peace Pearl program. However, the project was cancelled and only about 24 J-8II were produced. USAF Air Force Flight Test Center took the task of test flight of modified J-8II. J-8IACT first flew in 1988. Fly-by-wire testbed and technology demonstrator. J-8ID first flew on the 21st of November 1990. Modified J-8B with fixed refueling probe and updated avionics such as TACAN navigation system. F-8IIM unveiled in Zhuhai Air Show 1996. Export version of J-8B with Russian Phasertron ZHUK-82PD radar, R-27R1 arm and KH-31P anti-radiation missile. The F-8IIM was to be powered by two more powerful WP-13B turbojet engines. This aircraft is often mistakenly referred to as the J-8IIM with KH-31A anti-ship missile capability, but its radar lacked sea search mode for anti-shipping role. The F-8IIM failed to attract any export customers and no domestic orders. Conversion from older airframe was reportedly much fewer than the 100 units of ZHUK-82 radar delivered, and the conversion might have only been an experimental program with none entering service. The F-8IIM fighter will probably be equipped with Russia's or China's helmet sight and advanced Place 9 and P-73 missiles. Phasertron, a Russian firm, has signed contracts with China to provide 150 to 200 improved Duke radars mainly in support of China's new F-8II fighter. but also to equip the new Chengdu J-10 fighter. These radars have 6 times the data and signal processing power of the basic variant and greater detection range than the current 8 OKM. They can track while scanning on 24 targets, display up to 8 of them, and simultaneously provide fire control solutions for 2 to 4 of them. J-8II, upgraded J-8II with FBW system and 2 XWP-14 power plants. Compared to the J-8II, the J-8C had a number of improvements, including a new multi-mode pulse Doppler radar which was reportedly based on the Israeli Elta M2035 radar technology. The aircraft was also equipped with a digital fire control system and a new glasses cockpit with multifunctional displays. The J-8C program entered full-scale development around 1991 and the aircraft first flew successfully in 1993. Development halted in favor of other version described below, but was used to test new radars such as Type 1471 and other avionics associated with FBW system. For this version on electronic warfare pods such as BMKG-300G and KZ-900, as well as navigational targeting pods including Blue Sky Navigation Pod and FIL-AT become operational on J-8II, cancelled after second testbed had crashed. J-8IF. It is reported that during 2006 to 2008, J-8II production suffered major setback due to engine problem. J-8IG, modified J-8II with tailhook and other improvements for developmental work on shipborne aircraft for carrier operations, such as in April 1987, evaluating and AMP testing the Chinese reverse-engineered steam catapult from that of HMAS Melbourne, which was finally confirmed 27 years later in April 2014 by CCTV 13. Both the takeoff and landing were conducted on land with the reverse-engineered steam catapult installed on the beach, and the test pilot was PLANAF pilot Li Guoqiang. Experience gained was applied to Shenyang J-15. J-8G, an advanced modified variant of the J-8II tasked with the suppression of enemy air defense mission, was said to have been developed by the SAC in the 2000s. The aircraft, reportedly designated J-8G, was said to be capable of carrying 2 indigenous YJ-91 anti-radiation missile and electronic warfare suite to attack enemy radar stations. J-8IM. At Zhuhai Airshow 2006, a new variant, J-8IM, was put on display with upgraded systems similar to the J-8H. The most significant improvement is the radar upgrade with a new Type 1471 domestic radar used by the J-8H. In comparison to F-8IM's Russian ZH-UK-82 radar, the Type 1471 radar has a number of performance enhancements. Type 1471 radar has 75 km maximum range for targets with 3 square meters RCS, in comparison to ZH-UK-8I's 70 km maximum range against target of 5 square meters RCS. Additional ability to handle seaborne targets that ZH-UK-82 does not have. For sea targets with 50 square meters RCS, the max range is greater than 1/180th of a kilometer for sea state 1/2, simultaneously tracking 10 targets and display 8 most threatening ones out of the 10 on displays, engaging 2 out the 8. Air-to-air modes, VSRWS, TWS, SDT, Air Combat Mode, AMTI mode, which is used to discover hovering helicopters, can be added upon customer request, though this does not come as standard feature. Air-to-ground modes: mapping, mapping expansion, freezing, Doppler beam sharpening, ground moving target indication, see single target tracking, air-to-ground ranging, and improved beacon navigation and weather capability. JZ-8F, a reconnaissance version of the J-8F with internal camera in the forward fuselage replacing the Canon J-8T upgraded J-8 with JL-10AX band radar. Export variant F-8T has WP-13B2 engines. China National Aerotechnology Import NAMP Export Corporation claims J-8T is equipped with improved integrated avionic and various guided weapons. J-8T can carry out air-to-air BVR intercepting mission, air-to-ground precise attacking mission and standoff attacking mission. J-8DF J-8D upgraded to J-8F standard. Lack of cooling duct below intake. Can fire Place 12 and Place 8 missiles. Operators: People's Republic of China, People's Liberation Army Air Force. 24 J-8, 42 J-8A, 64 J-8B, 36 J-8D, 12 J-8E, 24 J-8F, 48 J-8H, 8 JZ-8, 24 JZ-8F in service in 2010. People's Liberation Army Navy Air Force. 48 J-8I, J-8F, J-8B, J-8D in service in 2010. As of early 2011, there are about 300 Chinese J-8s in service. Specifications. Data from General Characteristics. Crew. 1. Length 21.52 meters. Wingspan 9.34 meters. Height 5.41 meters. Wing area 42.2 square meters. Empty weight 9,820 kilograms. Loaded weight 15,288 kilograms. Max takeoff weight 18,879 kilograms. Power plant 2 times WP-13B turbojets. Drive thrust 47.1 kilonewtons each. Thrust with afterburner 68.7 kilonewtons each. Performance never exceeds speed. Mach 2.2 limited. Maximum speed greater than Mach and GT 2.4 plus. Combat radius with 5 minutes combat 540 nanometers 486 nanometers. Rate of climb 13,440 meters per minute. Wing loading 447.4 kilograms per square meter. Thrust weight 0.91 with afterburner. Armament 1 centerline and 6 underwing hardpoints for fuel, bombs, rockets or missiles. 4 Place 2 a Place 7 and 1 800-liter drop tank. 2 Place 2 a Place 7 and 2 by 480-liter drop tanks and 1 800-liter drop tank.